Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Vallejo Arts Fund Funding Panel Online Info Session. We want to say hi and welcome. Invite you to plant your feet flat on the floor and go ahead and take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Hi and welcome. We're so excited for you to join us. We want to say thank you to our partners at the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation for their support of the fund, to our critical partner, the Center for Cultural Innovation, and of course, we're Three Palms Group, and our most important partner of all is you, our friends and community over in Vallejo. All right, we're so excited to welcome you. As you may know, the Vallejo Arts Fund facilitates resources to, engagement of, and leadership with Black, Indigenous, people of color artists, culture bearers, arts organizers, and their broader communities. Today, some of our team is here, but we're going to go ahead and introduce our two project co-leads, as we will be supporting and guiding you through your applications to becoming a funding panelist. Hi, I'm Allison Ordela, and I'm so excited to be here with you all. Sed, can I invite you to introduce?
Yeah, hello. My name is Sergio or Sed, and I am also really excited to be here and to have been meeting folks from Vallejo from all places over the last several weeks, maybe even months. So
Awesome. So we're just going to welcome everybody in. We're so happy to have seen folks. Welcome to the folks who are watching us here on this digital recording. We're so happy to share this information with you. All right, I'm going to invite you to take a breath as we jump into today's session. Go ahead, breathe in and exhale. Awesome.
all right, so to begin today, or to continue, we just wanted to quickly go over what we're covering today. So the intention for this session is to really just clarify and make all the different documents and processes as accessible to you as possible, as clear to you as possible, and to let you know that there's always help. So that's in general the intention. We do want to talk about the funding panel, specifics, how to apply, what it looks, the commitment looks like, what the process looks like, what the application looks like. And we definitely want to spend some time on your questions. And lastly, again, reiterate that we're here to support and coach as needed. So with that, wanted to tell you, share a few things, a few high-level things. So we're going to definitely dive into these throughout the session today, but just wanted to name key pieces. One of those things is that the funding panel application is actually two documents. One of them is the actual application, and the other one is the role and commitment document, which just helps you understand what it is, what the commitment is, what the process is. So it's a helping document. But the only thing you're going to turn in is the application. This application is due Tuesday, March 14th to either Dela or me. You can send it via email, or you can submit online and we'll get that as well. The work of this funding panel is going to be from about mid-March towards the end of March through April. So it's going to be pretty quick, about 5 weeks. We're going to be working closely together. And folks that are part of the funding panel will receive a $1,600 stipend. A symbolic gesture, trying to compensate you for your work. It should be around 45 hours. It might be less, might be a little bit more, but just really wanted to acknowledge that folks that joined the funding panel are really going to help us move the Vallejo Arts Fund and move money and resources to folks here. So with that, the last piece I wanted to share was, if you are part of the Vallejo Arts Funding Panel, you will be part of one of 4 committees, one of 4 funding committees. So either that would be youth arts, arts cultural spaces, BIPOC arts and cultural practice, or artist next level projects. So as part of the application, we're going to ask you to rank which ones you would want to be a part of, which ones you would want to be on the decision committee for. And we're also acknowledging that some of you are going to be applying to these categories. So we're also asking the application, what are you applying for? And which ones would you like to be part of the funding committee? So I think we'll continue with that. We'll come back to that in a little bit, but just wanted to note that there's different fund sizes and the grant sizes range, as you can tell, most of them from 10 to 30K. So part of the work of the committee of the entire funding panel is to help us decide what those grant sizes will be. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it back to Allison to keep us moving.
Thank you so much. So you heard a little bit about it's a big fund, it's a fund panel, and then these 4 committees. And so as we think about that, you might be asking, well, why a funding panel? Well, what we heard from folks over and over in the summer of 22, and even in the first listening circle, what Hewlett heard in 2019, is that Vallejo wanted a seat at the table, and they wanted to know that artists, cultural bearers, arts organizers, and their communities had a stake and had a seat at the table, and were able to actually make decisions that impact the life, all of your lives in Vallejo. What is its purpose? The purpose is to collectively determine who the grant recipients will be in each of the grant categories. So each committee will have the applications in their category, and you all together will determine who is going to get funded in those categories, right? And you're going to look at the missions fund, the fund's mission, the fund's values, the fund's priorities, and the criteria as you evaluate those things. And so you'll learn more about that. The other thing we want to say is that, people will often ask, like, who can be a panelist? Who will be a part of this? We just want to let you know that the Vallejo Arts Funding panel will be comprised of up to 15 community members from across the BIPOC arts and cultural communities of Vallejo. And we want to make sure to reflect the fund's values of diversity, inclusion, and equity around race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, age, ability, as well as artistic genre experience and regional lived experiences, right? So all that means is Vallejo wants to see itself in the people who are making the decisions, right? And so we're setting up this process to find you. Next slide, please. So who are we looking for? We are looking for you. If you are part of and or have served or have centered BIPOC Vallejo artists, cultural bearers, arts organizers, and their communities for at least 5 years, right? Some of the grants, you need to be in Vallejo 3 years to make this funding decision. Community wants people who have been here a minute, right? 5 years is who we're looking for. We also want to know that you're working within or with the performing arts and visual arts, traditional folk arts, and oral and written storytelling community forms. And for this round of granting, everybody does need to be 18 years or older. And we will just say, we're hearing notes about getting youth involved in a more deep way. So we're going to work on that hopefully in a future round. All right, take a breath, right? All these things. Beth, can we have the next slide, please? Awesome. All right, so we're telling you why it is, we're telling you who we're looking for, and now it's like, this is our pitch to you. Why should you join us? Well, the first thing is we want to invite you to make a tangible impact. You're literally going to help community decide where the dollars will go and what projects will be supported. So that tangible impact in Vallejo, right? Number 2, you're going to get a chance to work with a diverse group of Vallejoans and be able to learn about how to actually engage in community dialogue and decision making, right? We're also developing together this new model. That's the third reason why we want to invite you to join us, because we're building a new model of how to create resources and give away resources in Vallejo for Vallejo. We also want to help you develop yourself. This is going to be a great opportunity to develop your leadership skills, your community grant making skills, and to get a really unique picture of Vallejo's BIPOC arts and cultural communities and who's making what right now. So you might know everybody, but you might discover a whole new group of artists that you never knew were making work, right? And last but not least, we also want you to join us because we want to compensate you for your work. We appreciate your wisdom. We appreciate your time. We appreciate all the things you bring. And we want it to be a reciprocal, relational experience for everybody. Next slide. Okay, so We're telling you why we want you to join. Now, what, right? What is the commitment actually? All right, 4 big things we want you to know. Number one, you got to abide by all of the Vallejo Arts Fund mission and values, right? So not just the mission that we shared at the top of this, but also the values and how we can operationalize that, manifest that into decision making. Number two, you got to attend all of the grant making sessions. Yeah. We're going to talk on the next slide about specific dates. Number three, as a member of the funding panel, you're going to read 12 to 15 proposals. So we need to know that you're going to go through and you're going to read them. You're willing to consider how do these proposals align with all of those things we just talked about, the mission, the values, the criteria for the project, right? And then finally, we're going to need to be able to share our thoughts with each other. So we're going to want folks to write down your responses, and we're going to share them in 3 ways. We're going to be really efficient, right, with our notes. We're going to share them with our team members. We're going to share them with other funding panel members, potentially, as we think about bigger decisions. And we're also going to be able to use them to provide feedback to those artists. So it's not just scribbles, but somebody can really see the way in which you evaluated, thought about, engaged with their application. Seth, is there anything that I've missed or you want to add to?
No, I think we can keep going and keep building on it. Awesome. So you heard quite a bit about who the fund is seeking, what it is, what's the commitment, so many important things. And so now we want to spend a little bit of time around what these dates look like. These dates that we took quite a while to find. And so it's going to be really important for folks who are part of the funding panel that it's going to be important for them to make sure that they are available on those dates. So what are those steps? So the first thing is this online session. So we want every funding panel person who's applying, anyone who's applying to a funding panel, to watch this online session so they get a sense of what it is. Number two is submitting this application. So on March 14, we're gonna ask that folks submit their application by the 14th or before the 14th. Now, once the application is submitted, we're gonna take some time and announce who the funding panel is gonna be. By then, all the program applications will have been submitted. So the funding panel members won't know who they are until everything is submitted. So as soon as you know who you are, as soon as you're part of the funding panel, we're going to ask folks to be available March 26, 11 to 4 p.m. for our training. And so this is in person. We thought it was really, really important that we're in Vallejo, that we're with you all, and that it's a place-based project, right? That it's really rooted in Vallejo. So we believe it's important to be in person. The second thing is you're going to take your applications, you're going to have a model, a way to evaluate them. You're going to have all these different steps that you're going to take. And then you're going to come back on Saturday and Sunday, April 22nd and 23rd. You can see the times, 11 to 4 on Saturday, 11 to 3 on Sunday. And this is where we're going to get together and really do this decision making. Talk to one another, really evaluate these applications, and finalize the grant recipients for each of those 4 categories: youth arts, BIPOC-centered, arts cultural space, and next level. We also have one last session. This one will be online on Tuesday, April 25th, 5 to 6. Sometimes there's some information we need when we're doing these kind of processes, and so that would be an opportunity for Alistair and I to get that information and make any final decisions on that Tuesday. And as soon as we make those final decisions, those decisions go to our trusted partner, CCI, and they will begin to work on that process as soon as they get those. Also, CCI, as soon as you finish this Zoom meeting, CCI will process your payment. We are exploring the possibility of having 2 payments for folks. We've heard that from community that sometimes it's hard to work without pay for so many weeks or for a long period of time. So we'll let people know after next Wednesday what CCI can do or what we can do. All right. Anything there, Allison? Okay, let's
You
go.
covered it.
Cool. So the first thing, so let's talk about the application. So you know about the dates, all the things about who we're looking for, what it is. So let's talk about this application. Like any of the other applications, we really want to make sure that you know that we want you to bring your authentic self. We're not as interested in how you write or how you format. We're interested in the content. You can do it in bullet points, short paragraphs, poetry, whatever works for you. We want to understand your intention, your aesthetic, how you work, and who you work with. How have you engaged BIPOC arts and culture communities in Vallejo? So it's really about sharing with us what that has looked like for you. And then Allison's gonna take us through a few questions. Not yet. After this slide. So these are the first two questions that we have on the application. And we put them together because they're complementary. And it's really, the way we think about this is all of you bring a world of experiences and assets and skills and talents. And we just want to know what those are so we can build this funding panel. So part of that is we're asking you to tell us a little bit about what are your skills, experiences, and your commitment to Vallejo and to BIPOC communities. And the other piece is just to know a little bit more specifically around how you even have worked in some of these grant categories, whether it's youth arts or BIPOC arts and cultural practices. Maybe you've managed spaces. Maybe you are an artist that's already gone to the next level. And so we are going to be looking for that type of experience as well. And also your connections in the community. Who are you in relationship with? Who have you been working with? And again, we're looking for folks that have invested 5 years and beyond. So these are sort of our entryway to learning more about you. So another thing we want to know about you is you want to know two things. The first thing is, if you were a panelist, which funding committee would you like to be a part of? Which is another way of saying, which grants would you like to review? We will be assigning you to those committees. We want to have a sense of where you feel like your strengths are and where you feel you could bring a lot of experience and sort of understanding of that particular sector. However, we also want to know which grants you're already applying. We don't want this to get in the way. You being on the funding panel should not get in the way of you applying to any of the categories that you want. So when you rank these, if you could rank them from first to fourth, but put a 0 by the ones that you're applying so that we know that those are not funding committees that you can be a part of because they will be an application. So again, just rank them from 1 through 4. If there are any that you're applying to, add a 0 and we'll know. And the following question in the application will ask which applications, which grants you're applying to. So we'll figure it out. 2 questions in the application to help us with that. Anything more on that, Allison? All right.
No, and I think it really dovetails really beautifully into this next question, right? So we're asking you to tell us more about you, to tell us about which grants you've applied to, which ones you want to review. We also want to continue to be grounded in the Vallejo Arts Fund mission and values of inclusion, right? And while this is a BIPOC-centered arts cultural grant program, we also know that we need folks to agree that when they come to the table, we're still using all of those values around inclusion and equity and fairness. And so we want to make sure that every panelist, so I'm just going to read a question from the application, right? Every panelist will be connected to a diversity of networks, communities, and organizations, and will encounter perceived or real conflicts of interest. So our first question is, how will you manage those perceived and real conflicts for yourself? And second, do you have any suggestions on how you would help the funding panel create an equitable and fair process for all applicants, right? So we're asking for a two-part question here, helping us all think about, we know each person's going to come in with complex relationships. That's why we want you on the funding panel, right? Because it means you're rooted here, it means you're grounded here, right? Also know that in the summer, what we heard from community was, we don't just want another kind of grant program in Vallejo where if you're somebody's friend, that means you get funded. And we don't want to have those perceptions either, right? So that's what these two questions are really about. Seb, did I miss anything in there? I just want to touch back. Okay. And if you have questions about this, this is a really chunky question. We've already fielded questions in the chat, questions from individuals about collectives they belong to, about groups they're a part of, and also projects that they've worked for, right? So those are all great questions for us. We'd love to talk with you about that as you work on this part of your application. Let's go to that next slide. Okay, so all the alls, right? We're learning about you. You're telling us how you're rooted and connected. You're telling us what you want to review. You're telling us about how you want to make a fair and equitable process for all applicants. The last thing is we want to make sure we're fair and equitable with you, and we want to make sure that we can connect to somebody in Vallejo to talk to them about panelists we may not know. So if we have questions or clarifications, we're just asking for one reference, their email address and or a phone number, and that they agree to be able to take a 10-minute phone call if we need to talk with them, or just answer a question on email. What I do want to say out loud is that when I shared with somebody about the references, I just want to say it's not a background check, it's not a credit check, it's not any kind of dig other than we're doing the relational practice of checking in with folks and asking questions, right? But we do just want to exhale any concern or fear that folks have. And also we recognize that sometimes colleagues are friends, are associates, collaborators are good stewards of messages about who we are too. And we want to hear those as well. Okay. And that was a lot of things if we think about the application. Yeah, can I invite us to go ahead and take a breath into your nose and out through your mouth? We've shared a lot of info in this session. Seth, I want to invite you to tell folks how they can get help, because we know this is a fun and heavy and exciting list.
Yeah, and let me begin by just talking a little bit about this funding panel and the diversity that's going to be part of it. So we are looking for a couple of panelists that are bilingual in Spanish. We do have applications in Spanish, and even though everything will be translated for everyone else on the panel in English, sometimes cultural translation is important. So if you're bilingual in Spanish, please talk to us about potentially being part of the funding panel. And again, as we've said in every session and throughout today, is we really want to support you in this process at whatever place you're entering, whether you're applying to get a grant, whether you are an ambassador, whether you're trying to get other people to apply, whether you want to be on the funding panel. We really want to be relational and engage your questions, your feedback, and your concerns. So here are our emails. Reach out anytime. Also, this video is a good resource for you. So you already watched this, you're good. And again, the companion piece to the application, the panel commitment and role document, that's another place, another resource. And of course, there's a website which will reflect all of this information all the time. So yeah, please let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Or is there one more? No, that's it.
Awesome. And as you do that, Seth, I just want to share some questions that we have gotten when we were able to do this session with some folks. And somebody asked an ongoing question that we're finding in the fund is, if I am connected to Vallejo, but I just moved here like within the last 2 years, or I'm doing work in Oakland, can I apply to this fund? And I just want to say, we heard loud and clear from Vallejo that they want to fund work by Vallejoans in Vallejo, because part of the challenge is that people have to leave Vallejo to make their art, right? And so I just want to say, yes, we want to continue to support building East Bay connections with each other, And this fund is really about a placekeeping strategy to support Vallejo folks making work in Vallejo. So if that's not quite you yet, we would really love to hear from you. We're also looking to amplify what folks are doing and helping to connect people. But we do want to be clear about what the purpose of the fund is and who we really see as engaging. Yeah. I just be as we close, I just want to say thank you for joining us in this session, for sitting and hearing kind of how we've put this together. We would love to hear from you. We are here to help. I am here to help. And I'm just so excited to continue to build with all of you so that we can resource Vallejo.
And I can just say ditto to that. All right, thank you.